Hello, in this video I'm going to show you techniques for throwing multiple parts on the wheel and then attaching those once they're finished. This piece was thrown in two parts. It has 3 pounds of clay in the bottom and 1.5 pounds of clay in the top. The bottom's thrown like a normal pot where it has a closed bottom on it, and then the top part is thrown without a bottom. So when you attach them, you can create a vessel that's open all the way through. In this video, we'll talk about how to measure your pieces with calipers, and we'll talk about how to monitor your clay pieces so you can attach them when they're in the right stage. It'll work best when everything is in the soft leather hard to leather hard stage. This technique can be used to make vessels, but it can also be used to make sculpture or really any kind of complex form using the wheel. I hope you enjoy it. When throwing these forms, we're going to use a bat for each piece. We'll attach the bat with some pieces of clay in the bat pins. Make sure to press it down really well. Check that it doesn't jiggle or move around so you can easily throw with a large amount of clay. The pieces being thrown on bats is going to help us lift them off the wheel and carry them around without disturbing their shape, but also it'll be really essential when we go to attach multiple pieces and we're trying to make sure everything is centered and lined up. While throwing this form, I'm thinking about how I'm going to stack another piece on top of it. So I'm leaving a little bit of excess clay at the rim where I know the attachment's going to happen. So I have some strength there to hold up the other piece. Also with this piece, I'm thinking of creating a ledge where the top piece will attach. You can do it this way, or you can attach the pieces rim to rim. Either way, you want to make sure you have a decent amount of clay where the attachment is going to take place. Once you've finished throwing your form, you need to use a set of calipers to measure the opening. And calipers work by tightening and loosening a screw. You want to make it tight enough so when you make a measurement, it'll hold its place. I'm measuring the outside of the area that I want to make the attachment. And that's going to be the measurement of the outside of the bottom of the next piece that I'm going to throw. So you want to be sure that you don't disturb those calipers so that measurement stays true. At this point, we don't want to cut the piece from the bat yet. We're going to leave it attached so it's centered. That'll help us attach the top part when we're ready to do that. As I'm centering, I'll use the calipers to measure the bottom of the clay ball. I want to make sure that it's going to be the right size the whole way through. Now, because this will be the piece that's going to go on top of the vessel that I just threw, as I open, I'm going to push all the way down to the bat. So I'm not throwing a bottom on this piece. I'm essentially throwing an open pipe. So you'll go all the way down to the bottom until you feel the bat, and then open up as you would normally. Be sure to check your piece with the calipers throughout the process. It's easy for a piece to get too big or too small without you knowing, and then difficult to change that shape. So as you go, use your calipers to check the bottom of the piece that you're throwing to make sure that it'll be the right size when you go to attach it. As I'm finishing up this top form, you'll notice that I continually use the calipers to check the bottom of it. I want to make sure that it'll be exactly the right size when I'm finished. So I'm getting ready to shape this form, and I'll use the rib and push out from the inside and create the shape that I'm interested in. At this point, I'm trying to make sure that the bottom interior of that piece is really clean. So I use my needle tool to cut any excess clay away. So when I go to remove that from the bat, it'll come off nice and clean. Here you can see that I've opened this piece all the way down to the bat, and then I've used my needle tool to cut the excess clay away. That'll make it nice and easy for me to clean up and prepare it to attach to the other piece. Now I've let my pieces set for a few hours, and they are in the soft leather hard stage. I've checked the rim on the bottom piece by lightly touching it and making sure that it's stiff enough to hold the weight of the top piece. When I've determined that the bottom piece is dry enough to hold the weight, I will lock the bat back to the wheel and make sure that everything is centered and ready for me to attach the other piece. I'll do a dry fit to make sure that everything's lined up right. I'm going to just place the piece on there, see how it looks and feels before I make a final move to make the attachment. For this piece, I want to make sure that the top part is perfectly centered. So I'll slowly rotate the wheel and see if I can position the piece in the center so it doesn't wobble back and forth as it spins. Once I'm satisfied with the placement, I'll draw a line right where the two pieces are attaching. This will help me know where to score and slip for the attachment. Once you've slipped and scored each piece really well, you're going to carefully place the pieces together. I'm being sure to look inside so I can line up the two pieces as perfectly as I can. Before I really compress the two pieces together, I'll slowly spin and make sure that it's as centered as I can make it. Once I feel like the piece is in the right location, I'm going to make the attachment. If you're able to reach inside with your hand, this is a really good way to seal that attachment. I'm reaching in and pressing up on the inside of the bottom piece up against the top piece. You may not be able to reach inside of the piece that you make. If so, you might want to use a wooden tool or some kind of thing that you can reach inside and compress those seams together. Now that I've done a good job sealing the interior, I'm going to compress the exterior seam. In this case, I'm just using the end of a rounded tool handle to create a little line and compress the seam at the same time. Now that I've attached the two pieces together, I'm finally ready to cut the bottom piece from the back. At this point, I'll let it dry more. I can turn the piece upside down in a little while and it'll be ready to dry to leather hard, and I can trim the bottom and clean it up and do any kind of decoration that I might want to do to the surface.